It was a quiet night. I was just about to drift off to sleep when muffled voices from the living room broke through the silence. The tone was sharp, tense an argument. I was young, too young to fully understand what was happening, but old enough to feel the weight of the tension. Curled up in my bed, I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to will myself into sleep, but uneasiness gnawed at me, and the sound of a car engine roared to life, breaking the stillness of the night. I crept to my window, heart pounding, and peeked through the curtains. I saw my father's car pulling away. I waited. Minutes turned to hours. My father didn't come back. The next morning, the house felt empty. A week passed, and still no sign of him. I tried to focus on school, on anything else, but his absence consumed me. And then, a letter arrived. The words were simple yet devastating. My father had decided to leave. For as long as I could remember, my parents had been together. For almost 30 years. For children, a life built piece by piece. And now, it was over. My father was gone. At first, I refused to believe it. I held on to hope, waiting for the sound of his keys jingling at the door, his familiar voice calling out. But days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and the truth became impossible to ignore. A year passed, and though my father was still alive, it felt like I had already lost him. 2 years after he left, my mother remarried. She had found someone else, a man she believed could give her the love and stability she deserved. But for me, her choice was like reopening a wound that hadn't yet healed. Her new husband and I never got along. He was an angry man, quick to temper and heavy-handed with his words, and sometimes worse. The home that had once been my refuge now felt like a battlefield. I didn't feel safe, and I didn't feel loved, but through it all, I couldn't hate my mother. I saw the lines on her face deepen as she worked tirelessly to raise us on her own. She was everything to me, my strength, my foundation. I cried often, not just for myself, but for her. Still, a part of me clung to the hope that I could somehow bring my family back together. I dreamed of the day my father would return, of a miracle that would undo all the pain. Years passed. I grew older, graduated college, and found a job as a video and photo editor. Life kept moving forward, even when my heart remained stuck in the past. Then, I got married. My wife was my anchor, a light in the darkness I'd carried for so long. Soon after, we had a child, a beautiful baby who brought joy back into my world. Becoming a father changed me. It made me think about my own father, about the bond we'd never had, and the memories we'd never made. My child deserved to know their grandfather. So, I decided to try again. I reached out to him, tentatively at first, sending letters, leaving messages, but every attempt was met with silence. When I finally heard back, his words cut like a knife. He didn't want to see me. He didn't want to know me.
Don't bother me.
I can't describe the pain of hearing those words. It felt like losing him all over again. Years went by, and the weight of my unresolved past grew heavier. I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed answers, that I needed to try one last time. Not for me, but for my children. I poured myself into finding him. I searched records, made phone calls, and combed through every possible lead. For years, I tried. And then, one day, I found him. It wasn't what I expected. I found his name, not on a phone directory or an address book, but on the death index. My father was gone. He had been gone for years, buried in a cemetery, and no one had thought to tell me. I sat there, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. The grief hit me like a tidal wave, pulling me under, drowning me in the weight of all the things I'd never said and never done. No goodbye, no closure. He never knew he had grandchildren. He never knew how much I had wanted to rebuild what we had lost. Why didn't anyone tell me? Was I so unimportant that my father's death didn't warrant a phone call, a letter, anything? Or had he chosen to erase me from his life so completely that even in death, I didn't matter? I will never know. But as I sat by his grave for the first time, I spoke to him. I told him about my life, about my wife and children, about how much I had wanted to make things right. And I forgave him. Not for him, but for me. Grief doesn't disappear. It changes, evolves, becomes a part of who you are. Losing my father without ever really having him left scars I'll carry forever. But those scars remind me of what I've gained. I've learned to be the father I never had. To love fiercely, to show up, to never let silence or bitterness take the place of connection. If you're watching this, maybe you're carrying pain like mine. Maybe you've lost someone. Or maybe you're trying to hold onto a relationship that feels like it's slipping away. All I can say, don't wait. Don't wait to say the things that need to be said, to try, to forgive. Life is too short, and sometimes the people we love are gone before we even realize it. My father may never have wanted me, but I will always want my family. That's the legacy I choose to leave.